Imagine this. The government makes a sudden announcement. There's a new mandatory survival patch for the country. Every single American, from the guy flipping burgers at McDonald's to the lawyer at the high-rise firm, must work for free. No paychecks, no bonuses, no side hustle income. For 5 straight years, every ounce of your labor, your sweat, and your time goes directly to one thing: paying off the national debt. You'd think that would fix the problem, right? Total reset? Nah. Mathematically, it wouldn't even touch the principle. By the time you finished your 1,825th day of slave labor, the interest alone would have spiked so high that the debt would be larger than when you started. You aren't playing a winnable game. You are a meat suit trapped in a fictive loop of numbers that no longer correlate with reality. Welcome to the operating system of the $39 trillion math. Today, we're debugging why the U.S. can never pay its debt, why it has absolutely no intention of trying, and how your life is being farmed to keep the simulation running. To understand the debt, you first have to realize that the cotton and ink in your wallet isn't real. It's a social technology, a universal fiction that only works because 330 million people agree to participate in the same hallucination. For most of history, money had an anchor. It was tied to gold, a shiny rock that was rare and hard to find. If a government wanted more money, they had to go dig for it. But that was a level 1 constraint. It lacked flexibility. So we deleted the anchor. We moved to fiat currency, which is basically the government saying, "Trust us, this paper is worth a taco." Today, most money isn't even physical. It's just ones and zeros on a screen, digits that could vanish with a single glitch. The U.S. national debt is just a ledger of how much faith and trust we've borrowed from the future to pay for the present. It's a shared belief system, and as long as the world keeps believing the story, the game continues. When the government needs money to build roads, fund schools, or send billion-dollar missiles to places you can't find on a map, it doesn't just run the printing press. That would trigger the inflation erosion bug too fast. Instead, they use a more sophisticated social hack. They sell bonds. A bond is essentially a high-level IOU. You give the government $1,000 today, and they promise to pay you back with interest in 10 years. Who buys these? Everyone. Your bank, your pension fund, other countries like China and Japan, and even you through your 401k. Here is the glitch. The U.S. never actually pays back the debt. They just refinance it. They sell new bonds to pay off the interest on the old bonds. It's like opening a new credit card to pay the minimum balance on your old one. In the world of average Joes, this is a financial death spiral. In the world of structural power, it's called a Standard Tuesday. Interest is money's way of charging rent to exist in someone else's hands. When you're an investor, interest is your best unpaid employee. But when you are $39 trillion in the hole, interest is the final boss that has already beaten the game. We are currently witnessing the math of momentum working against the system. As the debt grows, the interest payments become a larger chunk of the national budget. Eventually, the interest exceeds the cost of the entire military. Your brain has a biological bug called hyperbolic discounting. It prioritizes a $12 burrito today over a $1 trillion catastrophe 30 years from now. The masterminds running the system know this. They aren't worried about the math because they're running a short-term survival script. They know they won't be in office when the debt clock eventually turns into a black hole. They are just trying to keep the lag spike from crashing the servers while they are still the main characters. If you can't pay the debt, how do you fix the ledger? You use the inflationary devaluation patch. Imagine you owe someone $100, but through economic prophecy, you make it so that next year $100 only buys what $50 buys today. Suddenly, your debt has been cut in half in real terms, even though the number on the bill stayed the same. The government needs a little inflation, usually around 2%, to keep the engine cooling. But when debt hits $39 trillion, they need a bigger erosion bug. Inflation is a silent tax on your labor. While you think your $5 bill is still $5, its value software is being downgraded every day. By printing trillions for stimulus rituals, the government redistributes wealth from your savings account to the national ledger. You didn't get a tax bill in the mail, but you're poorer anyway. Your hours are losing value while you sleep, and that's the feature, not the bug. In the middle class, people fall for the house whore glitch. They buy the maximum house the bank approves and spend every cent just keeping the lights on. The U.S. has done the same thing on a global scale. The country has built a success monument of global military bases, massive social programs, and a premium subscription to being the world's reserve currency. The structural power required to maintain this is astronomical. The U.S. has now become comfortable being broke at a higher salary. It earns trillions in taxes, but it spends even more just to prevent the reset. If the government stopped borrowing, the party would end, the lights would flicker, and the sad lo-fi beats of corporate downsizing would start playing for everyone. To avoid the recession glitch, they keep pulling the lever on the debt slot machine, hoping for one more variable reward. Here's the blunt truth that your school tutorial never mentioned. The system requires debt to function. Most money is created through fractional reserve banking. When a bank makes a loan, they're literally typing digits into a screen and creating money from your promise to pay. If everyone paid off all their debts tomorrow, the money supply would effectively vanish. The simulation would crash to desktop. Debt is the leverage that allows the economy to grow faster than human hands ever could. It's rented speed. The goal isn't to reach zero. The goal is to make sure the thing we borrow for, GDP, grows just fast enough to keep the interest we owe from eating us alive. But we've reached a point where the physics of the financial world are breaking. The debt is growing exponentially, while the meat reality of the economy is only growing linearly. We are running out of compounding time. When a country's debt becomes unsustainable, it doesn't just go bankrupt. Countries aren't like people. You can't repo a nation. Instead, they experience a mass crisis of imagination called a currency collapse. Suddenly, the shared hallucination stops working. People realize the cotton and ink has no legitimacy compared to a stick or a Bitcoin. Trust falls. The currency weakens. This is the black hole phase. The system attempts to patch the problem by printing more money, which only feeds the inflationary singularity until a loaf of bread costs a wheelbarrow full of bills. It happened in Germany in 1923, and it's the final boss that every central bank is currently trying to outrun. The $39 trillion math is a reminder that you are living inside an operating system designed for maximum harvest. The invisible forces of taxes and inflation are the costs of a civilization that is perpetually borrowing from your grandchildren's time. You can't fix the national firmware, but you can patch your own life. 1. Stop hoarding cash. It's a guaranteed loss to the inflation erosion bug. 2. Understand rich debt. The 1% don't fear debt. They use it as leverage to buy assets that grow faster than the interest. 3. Delete the NPC script. Stop paying the brand loyalty tax and signaling status to people who don't care. And 4. Build momentum. Stop trading your gold for gum. Start making your time worth millions through leverage and skills. The debt clock is ticking, and the black hole is hungry. Are you going to be the one wearing the green sweater, or are you going to learn the rules of the game and rig them back in your favor? If you realized that your savings account is just a memory leak for your wealth, hit the like button and subscribe. It helps the algorithm realize you aren't just another NPC in the tutorial. Comment below. Do you think the shared hallucination of the dollar will last another decade, or is the simulation about to reboot? I'll see you in the next video. Game on!